What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Darius Riddick here, aka Riddick the Lion, and welcome to another episode of the Lion's Kitchen. And today we have a special recipe for you. I'm gonna bring to you a healthful alternative to burgers, okay? And specifically turkey burgers with a delicious twist so we can really turn on our taste buds, okay? The reason why I chose to present this particular recipe is because when you go out or when you buy meat or make your own burgers, they're made with so much preservatives and so much grease and so many other things that you don't see the chef or the cook or whoever it is that's preparing your burgers, what they're putting in there, what they're putting in to preserve their meat, okay? So we can do this recipe for the family or for a cookout, just for a healthy night, post-workout, or just have it for lunch one day, whatever it may be, and it'll keep you from getting really groggy. It'll keep you healthy, right? And most importantly, it's going to be good, all right? Because that's what it's about, actually enjoying the ride, okay? So without further ado, let's get into the equipment that we're gonna need in order to make these burgers. So first things first, and most importantly, what you're going to need is some sort of scale, some sort of measuring device in order to measure the weight of your foods to make sure you're not overeating or getting the wrong amounts or overcompensating, okay? I got this online for about $8 or $9. It's really cheap, but it's really effective, and it's been really helpful, okay? So second off, actually cooking, right? The utensils you're gonna need, obviously a nice hefty sized knife in order to cut everything up. You're gonna need a fork or a tactus fork and a knife, all right? And that's just to spread things around, just to make it a lot easier for you, right? Obviously, gonna need a spatula because you can't flip a burger without a spatula. We'll make sure we're doing it right. All right, and then whatever your preference is, if you want to have like a flat large griddle or flat large grill, that's up to you. But I like the gas burner because it cooks it nice and slow and it maintains that flavor, all right? So you're gonna need a couple size pans and then one large one, depending on how you actually want to make it. But again, if you have a large griddle, that's okay to use it. Now we've covered everything as far as equipment goes. Now I want to go over the actual ingredients, the structure of the delicious burgers that we're going to make, okay? Now, as far as the actual components to the burger, those I would pretty much stay within these parameters that I'm gonna show you, because that is how we make the proper burger, okay? We don't wanna start adding too many things that's gonna change the recipe. Now, as far as the seasonings go, you are free to use whatever seasonings that you please. Just understand that the reason why I chose these specifically is because it keeps the sodium, the carbohydrates, and all the extra other blah stuff out of it, all right? So these I highly recommend, but again, the choice is yours to season it as you wish. For our first main ingredient that we're going to use, we have 93% lean ground turkey. Now, 93% is the cutoff, is why I recommend. Now, the reason why I recommend that is because if you're taking in more fat, then we're starting to get away from the healthy side, the actual point of why we're doing these recipes, okay? So 93%, 95%, 99%, right? That's the highest you can get, is really where we want to maintain. And depending on your servings, you need at least at a minimum, for one serving you need 6 ounces. For our next ingredient, we're focused on what is actually going to hold our burger together, okay? Now, what we're going to do in this recipe and what makes this recipe so special is we're replacing those complex carbs, okay? The stuff that's going to make us feel lethargic, the things that are going to make us feel groggy, and those actual buns with Portabella mushroom caps, all right? They have the same look, the same feel, the same consistency. The only thing difference is these are significantly better for you, okay? And we're going to do them right and make them right. So basically, we're eating healthy but still eating burgers, okay? These are important. Make sure that we have the decent sized caps, and again, depending on how many burgers you're making, depending on how many servings you're actually going to need. So for our next ingredients, as far as our veggies, what we're actually going to use on the burger, we're going to need avocado, tomato, and spinach. Now these are going to add that fiber to our burger and give it that sustenance in the middle. Now, depending on what your actual goal is when it comes to the fitness world, whether you're just trying to eat cleaner, okay, like or if you're trying to lose weight or trying to maintain, this recipe is going to be perfect for you. But for those of you that are trying to gain a little more weight or they're trying to gain more lean mass, then we have to have a steady carbohydrate source, right? But not just any carbohydrate source, a clean carbohydrate source. For this recipe, what we're going to use is either sweet potato or white rice. And for the last piece of the internals of our burger, it's not a necessity, but I found it to add a little bit of protein to it, add a little bit of consistency, and I just love them. eggs. So if you have eggs around, whole eggs, and you want to add them to your burger, if you've never had an egg on a burger before, oh, it is absolutely delicious. So please give it a shot. Get those whole eggs and top one on each of the burgers, okay? Now, as far as seasonings go, I have some oregano here. I have some Grill Mates maple. I have some sea salt, and I have some black pepper. Now, of course, like I said before, the seasonings that you choose are completely dependent on your actual taste palette, right? But just make sure that we're choosing those ones that keep our sodium down and having those cleaner choices, like sea salt versus regular salt, for example, or no salt if you already have high blood pressure, right? And then the last thing is your dressing. Now, I choose dressing specifically because on my burger, I still like to have some sort of like, but usually we choose mayo or ketchup or some other kind of greasy alternative, right? So for me, creamy Caesar has been the most delicious dressing I've used. But again, if you like Italian or if you like ranch or something that's gonna keep those numbers down, then that's perfect for you. All right, so now that we talked a hell of a lot, let's go ahead and get into actually making this delicious burger, okay? So the first thing I want you to do is, remember, grab that scale that I talked about, okay? When you go to measure, make sure that you are measuring in ounces, okay? And then grab your ground turkey. For each burger, you're going to measure out 6 ounces, okay? 6 ounces is all you need. That has been the perfect amount when it comes to making the burger. Any less, and you're having like tiny little patties. And then any more, and then your burger is overflowing. But if you need to eat more, then you can just have a separate burger, and we're still keeping us on track, all right? As well, if you spray your hands just a little bit on both sides, right? Make sure it's not too greasy. All right, nice. So we got our turkey here, right? And then, since this is the one that I actually use for meat, we can actually start measuring it out. Just take a little bit here. That's absolutely perfect. So this is actually 6 ounces. So what I'm gonna do is just mash this out into kind of like a flat square-ish looking area, nice and even. I just put on my seasonings. I've been doing this a while, so I kind of just measure it out, but I usually don't try to measure a little bit too much when it comes to the seasoning. But I spread everything out, and you'll see in a second here, when I put the actual seasonings on the burger, I add them all in before we even cook. I know a lot of people like to add them in like while they're cooking, but I do it before they cook, just so it gets all even throughout the actual meat. And like I said, there's no real trick, there's no real, like measurement to this. But once you do that, you flip it in and you kind of get a chance to just mash it around again, okay? Now, there's obviously easier ways to do this, but this I found to just be the most effective to keep the flavor nice and even. You can tenderize it, you can add it as you're cooking. It's pretty much up to you. But as long as you get the meat nice and evened out and you're seasoning even to how you want it, then we're on the right track. And then you can go from there. Once you feel like you have mashed it up appropriately, or if you're satisfied with where you're at, okay, you can start forming it into the patty. And the good thing about turkey meat is it's nice and malleable when it's at room temperature, so it's super easy to make it into. Grab our knife, and what we're gonna do is just start preparing them for when we actually cook them. Because these are so thin, we don't really need to cook them too much, or some of you won't even need to cook them at all, but I like to give them a little saute, okay? So when we go to do this, we don't want them sitting on the grill for too long because they can burn really easily. So we're gonna go ahead and prepare these in order to be cooked at the same time our burgers are getting nice and ready, all right? First thing I like to do, and again, there's no particular order, it's like the mushroom caps have this little end right there, and just to make it nice and flat, I like to run my knife straight down it, just like that, just to create that nice flat surface. That way, it cooks nice and evenly. And I do that with every single one of them. See, cut all that extra. So the next thing we're gonna use is our avocado. Now we're gonna just cut the avocado in half. Now, again, it's depending on how you want. I found the best is to have the Haas ready to eat avocados, because again, they're nice and soft. You don't have to, wait for them or do anything like that. And then what I do is I just squeeze the whole thing right out. Right out, that's it, man. Super easy. Now, we can do this one of two ways, okay? We can either be like Chef Curry and cut everything up nice, make it into a little bit of paste, Or if you so please, if you don't like to cut it up, or you like it, you can mash it up. That's the great thing about a Haas avocado, is when it's ready to mash, that baby is ready to mash. So you can cut it up into little pieces and then mash it up real nice like, okay? Tomatoes are really good about it. They don't really add or detract from our macros. You can put up as much as you want. Not ketchup, tomatoes. I'm looking at you. Yeah, I'm looking at you there, Aaron. Yeah, calling you out. So what we do is just take a nice little slice. That's it. However big or however small you want it to be. This knife is absolutely terrible. But there we go. However big or however small you want them to be. I usually use about 1 or 2 tomatoes, but again, it's completely up to you. Some people don't. For the one that I'm going to cook my actual burgers in, my biggest one, I like to take a teaspoon of my EVOO, put it in there, and then just let it drizzle a little bit, okay? And then what I do next to make sure it's evenly spread out is I take a paper towel, get the excess, and I just spread it around the pan. Now this can be the equivalent to you actually just spraying the pan. Like, this is already a non-stick pan, but what we're doing is adding those healthy fats. It's gonna give us a little bit more flavor, and it's gonna give us more consistency when we actually go to put the burger down. It's gonna be easier to flip it too. And what it's also gonna do is create a coating around the meat so it doesn't like break up and do all that other stuff. It's the same thing that chefs do in the restaurant with the cooking oil, but this is a better alternative. I do, or even with our eggs, is I just take the coconut oil that we have and give it a nice little glaze over, okay? And perfect prep. So what we're gonna do now is head over to the stove and we're gonna get this cooking, all right? Now for me, like I said, I like to use a burner because it keeps all the flavor in there. It doesn't cook too fast, and then I can keep things separated if I want to. However, if you have a flat griddle or some kind of other surface that you like to use, then by all means, go for it. Or if you have like a George Foreman or some kind of other cooking surface, you can use that as well, all right? Walk with me over to the stove. So now that our pans are nice and hot, let's go ahead and start adding our bad boys in there. Go ahead and pop on our first burger. Listen to that sizzle. Absolutely amazing. All right, let's go ahead and get our next one. They'll cooperate. Go ahead and pop it on there. There we go. Now again, you can use whatever works for you, but I found this best to work for me. So while everything's cooking, we'll go ahead and give our eggs a little crack into the pan. Start letting those bad boys cook as well, all right? All right, so let's go ahead and get our first flip in. You see, it's still there. It's still nice and brown. It's not too brown yet, but it's not pink either, right? And that's what we want to do. We want to give it a little bit of press. Make sure it's still getting its TLC. Oh man, it's still good to go. Hell yeah. So that's our first flip. Max, we want to do 2 flips, okay? Even for our little tomatoes here, we don't necessarily need to flip them, but just they're on low heat, so just give them a little love. Give them a little love. Need to be cooked on both sides, and we can go ahead and get those bad boys out of there. We just wanted them nice and warm, all right? That's all we wanted, okay? And we can go ahead and put those to the side until we're ready. Nice and steamy, good to go. So next up, we can go ahead and grab our buns, okay? And again, we want those nice and heated the proper way. Now, you can either put them in the pan with your turkey burgers and give them a little bit more flavor, or you can put them in the pan on their own. But I'll tell you what, I'll do both. Just because I like you guys so much, I will show you both. So first thing, what I usually like to do is take them and give them a little spray, okay? And then toss them in there. And I'll do the same thing on the back side. It gives it that nice little gloss. As we're doing this, make sure that we're keeping an eye on the burgers, all right? And keep an eye on the buns, because now these are definitely on the hot side of the pan, okay? So if you need to turn it down a little bit, if that's what you need to do, that's what we're gonna see them cooking nice and fast, all right? So go ahead and grab it. Flip it over. If it's brown like that, that's fine. It's just cooking on its own, okay? I do. And slide it off into the pan, all right? I just gotta put it to the side, cook it for a little bit. Same thing with the second serving. Keep them nice and separated, right? So that way you know. Look at our burgers. Absolutely amazing. Look at that. Look at that. Cooked to perfection. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and take those off as well and slap them right on to our first bun. We got them buns, huh? Big old buns, huh? we're gonna shift over back to where we were and show you how this all looks when it comes together, okay? So ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I've gone ahead and taken our avocado off of the stove and put onto our burger, and I wish you can smell this. I hope you're making it with me because it smells absolutely delicious. And if you want to, depending on how much dressing you actually want, how much sauce you actually want, you can ever so gracefully just take your burgers off their buns, right? You can take our actually serving here. It's a teaspoon. And we can take, and this one's a smaller one. Put that on. Same thing on this side. Put that bad boy on. And what we're gonna do is just take our little knife, spread right on over it, okay? Just enough. We don't need too much because it's gonna be on both sides, okay? Just enough, not too much, and that'll give us our sauce. If you want to add a little bit extra, that's fine too. Just make sure we're keeping those numbers down so that our meals are still clean. Then we're gonna do is take those and slide it right back on. All right. Now I am indeed a green on green kind of man, so we want to take our handfuls of spinach, and what we're aiming for is about half a cup per the serving, okay? But we can just lay it all right on top, right? So when it's on top of the avocado, it'll stick real nice like. All right, and again, it depends on how much you want to eat, how much you actually like. If you want to take off the stems or cut it in half, whatever you may please, you can do that, because this is going to be like our lettuce. And the reason why we use spinach is because lettuce has no nutritional value, period, okay? So it's just a filler. So we use something that's going to give us our greens, our fiber, and still add really respectfully to this dish, okay? Or hard is because, man, when I like these yolks, when they pop, it just looks absolutely excellent on top of the burger, okay? So we can take our egg. I can do it with my hands, you know, no big deal. Who needs a spatula? Just take the egg itself and lay it right on top. Look at that, look at that. All right, and then take the other one and lay it right on top like that. Now, when I put this other one up here and smash this, it's gonna just all over this, okay? And that's how I like it. All right. So the last thing I'm gonna do is get a little bit more dressing, right? We're gonna put it right on the other side. Oh God, I got a little bit overzealous and put it right on the other side of our bun. All right, cool. Spread that out nice and right, and then take it, smash right on top, just like that. A little nasty burger. Yeah, right on top, just like that. And this thing is just juice to the core. You know what I mean? So ladies and gentlemen, last thing, if you guys enjoyed the video, if you like this recipe, like the video, comment, be sure to subscribe because I put out lots of content all the time, and please let me know what other recipes you want to see because there are going to be lots coming out, okay? And I can't wait to make them with you guys. I can't wait to share them and see what you can do. But until next time, you guys go ahead and enjoy yourselves. I'm going to go head to town on this guy here. Happy lifting.